Hey everyone, this is Manly Badass and welcome to the Sound of Drop Fall into Poison demo. Sound of Drop is about an aquarium trip that turns deadly as you're bombarded with a series of choices that mostly lead to bad ends. Before she realized it, the girl was standing before an imposing door. The girl occasionally came to Manton Aquarium alone. She watched the manta rays. She watched the jellyfish. Finally, she decided it was time to go home. Where is this? She had her doubts, but there should be nothing else there except for the aquarium. She assured herself that she had probably wandered off into a side path. The door before her had a large padlock hanging from it. Just as she had heard, it was unlocked and merely dangling there. The girl drew in a breath. Being locked would usually mean that it was a place she shouldn't be enter. Being open just meant that a staff member had forgotten to lock it, so going in was out of the question. Her curiosity piqued. She was past the point of persuasion. Her imagination ran wild, and her mind raced at the prospect of what might lie beyond the door. Just for a little bit. She opened the door and saw lots of glass tanks. Several types of fish hailing from the deep seas, from football fish, and oarfish to pelican eels and barrel eyes, were swimming about. Why isn't this an exhibit? Because it's a death trap. She fawned over, wondering why this would be in a closed-off area. Behind her, the door shut on its own. The girl spaced out, staring at the deep-sea fish swimming about. They would leap from the tank and swim in midair. The entirety of the room was the fish and their ocean, so it was an unnatural occurrence the girl treated as quite normal. Wasn't there originally a deep-sea fish booth that was shut down? Usually, aquarium tanks don't involve weird blood wall pulses. She suddenly remembered. At that moment, her surroundings were dyed a deep red. Welcome to the Red Sea. The water in the tanks, the fluorescent lights, all of it was red. The girl's vision also became red. When she opened her eyes, the girl was back in her own room. It was well into the night. She couldn't remember how she had gone home after all that. But more importantly, she had a bad feeling about something else. It isn't red here. She became aware of how hard it was suddenly to breathe. No matter how hard she grasped, she was unable to get oxygen into her body. Like the fish who couldn't breathe anywhere but in the water, she couldn't breathe unless she was inside that red color. She was convinced. On impulse, she threw open the window, leaned out, and thrust a hand outside. She couldn't inhale the wind flooding her room. She could only smell its milky, unpleasant scent. More. At that moment, the girl's body was tossed into the air. For just a second, her body seemed to float like a fish in the sea. Her room was on the 12th floor of her apartment building. In her fading consciousness, the girl watched her blood flow endlessly from her body. It's red. Only then could she breathe. Now everything would be fine. The girl smiled. The full moon in the night sky smiled too. Can't really see the moon for all that metaphorical blood. The sound of falling drops. The moon was concealed behind the clouds, and all the lights in the town were covered in water. The sound of it, the only thing left to resonate. She couldn't tell whether it was hot or cold, merely that the humid air was encircling her. Drip, drip. Wherever they were falling to, wherever they were coming from, the drops just continued to trickle out. That single drop. I stopped it with both hands. The sound of that solitary red drop. So it looks like a little bit of a prologue. Now we're in happy school times with cute anime girls. You know, the contrast of all the swimming in the blood and the floaty stuff. To our left is our main character. It's kind of rare for our main character to be shown down in a first-person perspective in these type of things, but here we are. Pretty much, I've actually gone through this visual novel for the most part already, so I'm going to skip some of the hijinks stuff and kind of skip to certain highlight points to introduce characters, and then I'll get to the actual horror portion. And if you want the full experience, I'd recommend just downloading the free demo, or just waiting for the full release of the visual novel, because it seems actually pretty interesting. So we've skipped ahead a little bit. There was some kind of friendly hijinks, a little bit of backstory for a couple of characters. Nothing like really big, just kind of like, oh, we're cute characters and whatnot. They visited some cafes, now they're at the aquarium. What's up? I forgot to tell you one important thing. Himeno makes a mysterious face and brings her mouth up to my ear. What? Did you drop your wallet or something? Or could it be that forbidden route? No, that's not the right anime. No, that's not it. This is something that I heard that's a bit of an urban legend, but they say the amount of people going missing is on the rise. There's a rumor that this month alone, the number of missing is well into the double digits. Huh? The main character actually looks a bit like Megumi from the Soma anime, with a little bit shorter hair, I think. Same kind of body language too. We have this conversation from the metal rack that holds the map of the aquarium. Aside from the map, there was a guide to Mantan East Building and information about affiliated hotels. During that time, we hear the sound of an elevator opening and closing, but do not see the people going into the aquarium. Mantan used to be a shopping district, right? That seems to be why. Even if there was a lot of runways, the media wouldn't pay much attention. But supposedly, many of the missing persons had stopped off at Mantan Aquarium. Well, coincidental. That rumor, who did you hear it from? Who indeed? No one in particular. You know how rumors spread. At Himeno's words, I feel a cold shiver along my spine. Regardless of how credible the rumor is, a sense of dread shoots through me. Considering my past, it's natural that I would feel connected to missing persons my age range, especially if they are runaways. If that is the case, it would send chills along the back of my neck. Why on earth? You couldn't have told me before this. Well, I thought if you heard about Mayu, you might not have wanted to come. Mayu is a familiar name. Fatal Frame, maybe I'm thinking of? I think there was a Mayu in that. Oh, so you forget to tell me it was a lie then, you little... I intended to protest firmly, but it still ended rather anticlimactically. Ghosts may exist, and they still may be unable to come back, but that doesn't mean I'm interested in visiting places where they are. This is proof that Himeno has her own strange interests, yet still makes me feel even more worried. This rumor has a continuation. Specifically, people who saw the deep-sea fish booth never came home. Oh, that sounds kind of familiar. Himeno relays those two pieces of information that frightened me with a smile. The rumor itself aside, she wanted to pass over the question of why people were able to see the closed-off deep-sea fish booth in the first place, not wanting to discuss it at all. Wait a minute, Himeno. Something else is tied in beneath that fear. Something about the aquarium and the missing persons who didn't come home. That was, essentially, spooky. Are you okay, Mayu? Sorry, I guess I scared you a bit too much. I think this story's pretty exaggerated, so don't worry about it. I heard it's a fun aquarium. Fun. I think we should take those stories with a grain of salt, right? The only fun we'll have is getting our heads sliced off. It's not really fun unless you're kind of into that, I guess. Though our kindness is misdirected, it's kindness just the same. Having involuntarily sat down, I take the hand Himeno extends to me. As I slowly rise to my feet, I respond, "Yeah, you're right." To think that I would hear of a connection to my precious memory in a place like this. So to give context to this scene, our main character is basically kind of wandering the aquarium. Nothing kind of really happened. But as they're enjoying themselves, suddenly we hear the heartbeat and this happens. Huh? It was no longer Himeno in front of me, but someone else that had caught my attention. This can't be real? Hey, Mayu! The ultramarine color unchanged. Within it, a face like mine passes before me. A face like mine from 5 years ago. Wearing an ultramarine overcoat that merges with the color of my vision, the girl turns to me and seems to be giving me a gentle smile. Mayu, wait! Without hearing Himeno call me back, I start running. We haven't finished looking at everything in the tube tunnel tank, but there's something more important right in front of me. Long hair that almost looks transparent. A thick blue coat. Cute boots with fur on them. There was no way I could forget that outfit. That's because it was the outfit of my little sister, Naga no Bimari, wore when she went missing here 5 years ago. The girl quickens her pace as if playing with me, and disappears on the other side of the tunnel. There are hardly any people there, but I lose sight of her between the shadows of the tank in the corner. Mari? How? Why? Hey, Mayu, wait! Breathing heavily, Himeko chases after me. I say sorry and break away from her, searching for the vision of Mari. As I come out of the tunnel, I survey the area, spotting a winter skirt nearby. I chase after that swaying form. Behind me, I can hear the intensity of Himeno's rushing steps, and quicken my pace. Kia! Having fallen into a trance, I realize what's going on when I slam into someone and fall on my backside. Nice star theme, Miss Joestar. Yeah, I'd say. The girl clicks her tongue as she picks up what she had dropped. As I start to say "excuse me" to her, she's already moving past me and runs off somewhere. Through that brief incident, I'm unable to find my way out of my confusion. So skipping ahead a bit again, we had some drama kind of go on between the two friends. The context is, of course, the main character thinks she sees her sister. The friend says, "You're crazy, you didn't see anyone." Your main character takes off, and she finds a blue keychain, which is a parallel to her pink keychain that her sister had. So she thinks that she's convinced she's seeing the sister. So right now she's still in the middle of the chase when she stops and discovers this. At that moment, a pungent aroma floats by and causes me to speak in surprise. Unable to bear the irritating stench, I pinch my nose. Still, the stench seems to twist in my nose. It's made of the smell of sewage and sulfur, and the nauseating stink of vinegar. As soon as I try to get away from the smell, something soft creeps along the ball of my foot. As I hesitantly look down, I realize the true identity of the putrid odor. It's a corpse. I'm not sure what type, but it's as big as my arm span. The body is slowly decaying and hasn't retained its original form. Yet by its bulging round eyes and slightly extended tail fin, I can just barely tell it was a fish. I couldn't tell right away, but it has a silhouette similar to a pirarucu. I feel like I've seen those eerie glaring eyes, characteristic of a freshwater fish. I feel sick. I move my foot slowly, and a small fragment of the corpse sticks to the bottom of my shoe, on the other side of which I notice something wriggling desperately. The slight sound of flapping wings departs from beside my ear, and I understand what the wriggling thing is an insect. Ah! Shaking chills run up my spine as if someone had pressed ice to it. I take a step back and drop my cell phone. The phone reacts with the black light, and the LCD screen coming on, illuminating the dead body. The syrupy dead body absorbs the light, and the winged insect that flees to avoid it. There's also a meandering white nematode that seems not to notice. The backlight soon disappears, leaving its stench amidst the darkness. The shadows of those hideous insects are scorched into my retinas, and they sway like the light off a heat haze in the darkness. Something was creeping up from the pit of my stomach. I think I'm gonna... I throw up everything that had welled up inside me. It doesn't all come up at once, taking 2, 3 times of convulsing to get all the vomit out. It was disgusting. Still even more disgusting was the fact that the insects had gathered around my vomit, as if it were a feast. What in the world was happening? Why did I have to relive these memories? I can't figure out the answer to my doubts. Not at all. I covered my eyes with both hands. I couldn't have made it if I didn't. But shutting out my vision leaves my sense of smell, causing the smell of raw water and the stench of the dead body to become more intense, so I uncovered my eyes. No! What is this? This is a place for the customers. Is it really to be alright for this to be here? On top of that, I was in the middle of chasing Mari, wasn't I? No, that isn't the problem. It's strange enough that there is a place like this in the middle of an aquarium. Anyway, I have to get out of here. The stench is so overpowering, it's as if I can't see it. I want to get out of here quickly, satisfying myself with the argument that it's a garbage dump or something, and that if I only go away, I'll be fine. At any rate, I can go back the way I came. No, that's no good. I might run into Himeno. At this moment, I don't want to see her face. My eyes having adjusted a bit to the darkness, I search for a way out. Here the tanks are broken. The little remaining water is stinking, and the bodies of living things have tumbled out here and there. I think about how happy I am that I can't see. Even so, to find the exit I'll have to look around. My nose has begun to go numb, and thanks to that I'm somehow able to retain my sanity. Before long I find a dim emergency light behind one of the tanks, and head towards it as if it were the last hope I could cling to. I feel squishing several times beneath my feet, but I try to ignore it and move on. As I move towards the emergency light, it seems that the smell is becoming faint. Just before a door, that's when I get used to the scattered shards of glass and the rotten fish corpses. The tip of my shoe feels as if it kicked something hard, something different from before. Wondering what I had kicked, I casually looked down. No! No! I get the sensation that all the blood has stopped flowing through me, and that my heart has stopped completely. The round thing I kicked has patches of hair, 2 eyes, a nose with a bone to it, and a mouth. Altogether it is. A human face. Was that red again? Speaking accurately, it's a head rather than a face. It's completely lifeless when my foot touches it, and rolls away with a flopping sound. Seeing the state the head is in, I begin to feel ill again, despite having finally calmed down from before. Of the white cranium, only the forehead area seems to be exposed. It seems this is anew, and has only just begun to decay. No, for starters, there shouldn't be like a corpse head on your floor. That's something you wouldn't usually find in an aquarium. There's no way a human head should be rolling around here. It's my imagination, or it has to be from some model. Perhaps an anatomical model. I haven't looked in the direction it was rolling. Convincing myself that it isn't a human head. It really is different, so there was no satisfying myself. I place my hands on the door and attempt to escape. Unable to control my shaking hands. It takes 3 tries before I can open the door. It is a heavy fire door that is usually open. By the way, it was totally a head. Just so people don't, keep debating that and getting a headache. Or losing their head over it. This is pretty. At the same time, I don't really like jellyfish. I step inside with my thoughts racing, and the atmosphere changes completely once more. I can hear the sound of the door closing behind me. Inside is a very clean place. The transparent water is tinted a faint blue, and inside float fantasy-like jellyfish. Countless pillar-shaped tanks are spread around, and the water shimmers as it reflects the light of the fluorescent lamp, red and yellow, green and purple. Green and purple, green and purple. The jellyfish's body is diffusing light like a prism. If you look back far enough into these tanks, you can see your daily dose back there. In spite of the strange space I have reached, I'm fascinated by the shimmering live art display. Himeno, I mutter without thinking. Then I quickly shake my head, erasing the image of Himeno's face that appears in my mind. Earlier, she didn't come after me. After all, Himeno chose on her own to part ways from me. I'm sure it's because she dislikes me now. It isn't something I should worry about. Even at a quick glance, I can see that there are various types of jellyfish in the tank. Having made efficient use of the small space, it's a charming area. It vividly expresses a starry sky, as is the fitting name of the name, Mountain Aquarium. Compared to the earlier Fish of the World booth, this one isn't at the least bit in decay. I wonder if Mary came this way. Going back is dangerous. But that head probably wasn't real, so we'll go on back. I feel worried about Himeno all of a sudden. I'll go back. Upon thinking whether or not this was a really dumb idea, it's alright for me to just enjoy something so pretty. I reach for the door behind me. Even though we fought, Himeno and I are friends. Sharing such a lovely memory will surely help us make up quickly. I step forward, and it's at that moment I discovered I hit a bad end. Huh? When I open the door and step through, there is no Fish of the World booth. Before I can even rationalize the scene before me, I'm pulled in by some sort of swell. Trying to figure out what's wrong, I realize I'm having trouble getting air. I really want air, so I pause for breath. My mouth fills with a fishy stench. Brine. Seawater. I know from the salty taste that I've swallowed sweet water. The reason I can't breathe is because all around me is ocean water. I understand I am in the ocean, devoid of light. No light and no sound in the darkness. Wondering why, I move my limbs. At this rate, I will drown. It hasn't been more than a minute since I got pulled under the sea. How many seconds have passed at this point? No, that isn't it. I have to get above water. However, up to this point there has been no light overhead, and I'm forced into an inevitable battle with my despair. I frantically endure my suffocation, swimming higher and higher. Suddenly being thrown into the water hasn't thrown off my sense of up and down, as the desire to live serves as an instinct to guide me upward. I still can't see, but I'm still alright. Just like that, I seem to have answered my own question. I can feel the clothes I'm wearing become heavy. However, if I have time to shed my clothes, then I have time to continue upward. My thinking is that alone. I've heard there is high pressure in the deep part of the ocean that crushes any living thing, but my body is completely fine. That means where I am at the moment shouldn't be that deep. If I swim hard enough, I should make it. I just have to hit the surface and take a deep breath. The question you should ask yourself if you have time in between all the drowning is, how did we get in from an aquarium to the middle of the ocean? Of course, sometimes you don't have that time when the oxygen's disappearing from your brain. How many seconds have passed at this point? I have no sense of time whatsoever in this darkness. Even so, I know that some time has passed since I was thrown into the ocean. A minute probably passed a while ago. Here, my consciousness has begun to fade. Immediately after I see the darkness of death, a small light illuminates the tip of my nose. Unless we fell into a tank, but even that wouldn't be that deep. Because I've been swimming so frantically I haven't noticed, but it seems as though I've gone up quite a ways. It will all be alright. The surface is close. I reach out my hand. I reach out towards that light. That's all I can do. That's because my legs won't move. No matter how frantically I try to move them, my legs won't even quiver. It feels as if something has ensnared my legs. It has the elasticity of a bottomless trampoline. From the tips of my toes to my rear end, that soft sensation wraps tightly around me. I want to think this is a lie. No, I've actually decided I will not believe it. That giant octopus has wrapped itself around my legs. Its gum-like suckers are the size of my palm of my hand. I can't even imagine how large its entire body is. The light is getting farther away. My eyes have already closed. For some reason, Himeno's smiling face floats before me, though it should be her angry face that I see last. Just like that, I'm in darkness. As much as it's tying up, my leg has lost all feeling. No wonder. My leg is no longer what it once was. With the depletion of my oxygen supply, my brain has already changed into a machine for merely processing my situation. Within the darkness, it dispassionately communicates my non-existent will to my four limbs, which have lost all sensation. It won't be long before the only thing I can sense is darkness. That's because I have already become a part of that darkness. Into the silent abyss. Well, if it didn't seem like it before, we can definitely tell there's something supernatural going on.